Hi, this is Usha. Welcome to Rathod Science classes. Today in this lecture, we are going to discuss current affairs of 22nd April 2021. In this lecture, we are going to discuss 8 topics which are very much relevant to UPSC. So let's get started with our discussion and let us see first article. Title says Covaxin phase 3 trial shows vaccine has 78% efficacy. So this article mainly talking about details of phase 3 study of this Covaxin. So as you all know, in India we have two vaccine candidates which got emergency use authorization from Drug Controller General of India. So those two vaccines are, the first one is Covishield, next one is Covaxin, right? So we are going to discuss about this details of this phase 3 study and also some important facts regarding this Covaxin. So this topic will be very important regarding GS paper 2 under health. So this topic will be important regarding mains and also prelims. So from mains point of view, you need to know about this, what is this emergency use authorization, and from prelims you need to know about what is this Covaxin and some details regarding this Covaxin. So if you see context, it mainly says that the efficacy of Covaxin has dropped a tad lower to 78% from 81% reported in March. So in March, here what happened? So here data regarding this efficacy of Covaxin mainly reported. It said that it is 81%. Now after this results of this study of phase 3, so now the details of this efficacy of this vaccine, it is about 78%. That is lower than whatever the details which are reported in month of March. So now let us talk about some important details. Here Bharat Biotech announced the results from an interim analysis of this phase 3 clinical trial here. And in this phase 3 clinical trial, it mainly said that efficacy against the severe COVID-19 was 100%. Okay. So whenever we are taking this vaccine, so after this, what happened? So here regarding the severe COVID-19, so efficacy that is seen 100%. So because of this, we can say this vaccine, that is Covaxin, which is against protecting from asymptomatic COVID-19, and it was 70%. So regarding this asymptomatic COVID-19, here the efficacy mainly found 70%, and for severe COVID-19, so we see it is 100% effective. So now let us talk about some facts regarding other vaccine candidates. So if you are talking about Pfizer vaccine, okay, so efficacy mainly reported 95%. And if you are talking about Moderna vaccine, efficacy is 94%, and Sputnik 5 vaccine efficacy is 90%, and Johnson & Johnson and AstraZeneca Oxford vaccine efficacy is 67%. So these are some efficacy related data of other vaccine candidates which are available, okay. And now let us try to talk about what is this phase 3 study. So whenever any development of any drug, it will be passes into 4 phases, okay. So after this 4 phases, we divide into 2 phases, that is under this first group mainly contains phase 1, phase 2 and phase 3, and another one is phase 4. So this phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 studies mainly done at laboratory levels and as well as at levels before entering into market. So before drug is released into market, whatever studies which are done, they are called as this pre-market stage, that is phase 1, phase 2 and phase 3 trials. And after entering into market, we have this post-surveillance study, that is phase 4 studies. Okay, so here what happened regarding this COVID-19 vaccines, before conducting this phase 3 or before release of this results of this phase 3 studies, so we came with emergency use authorization for these vaccines because of some national emergency here, right? So now here this Covaxin mainly submitted this phase 3 data. It mainly said that it is most effective and efficacy it is mainly seen, that is 78% effective. Okay. And now let us talk about some facts regarding this Covaxin. So it is only India's indigenous COVID-19 vaccine, okay. So you have to remember it is only India's indigenous COVID-19 vaccine. So you might have get doubt, right? There is also one vaccine, that is Covishield vaccine. It is also India based vaccine. But if you are talking about that Covishield vaccine, it is mainly based on Oxford University, but manufacturing it is done in India. Okay, so here regarding this Covaxin, it is only indigenous COVID-19 vaccine. It is mainly produced by Bharat Biotech Hyderabad in collaboration with ICMR here. So if you are talking about constituents and mechanism of action of this Covaxin here, so it mainly used some inactivated particles. Okay, it is called as inactivated vaccine because this vaccine, it is mainly developed by taking some inactivating or killing some live microorganism which is causing this COVID-19. That is, we are taking virus of this COVID-19 and we are making it inactive, or we are killing that, and these particles are used as vaccine. So in this way here, so whenever we are taking this inactivated vaccine, it mainly destroys the ability of pathogen to replicate after taking in human body. Okay, so these particles are identified by our immune system, and our immune system will get activated and it will start producing antibodies against that. Okay, so in this way here, whenever we are taking entire microorganisms here, so it mainly targets more than just a spike protein. Okay, so important aim of this Covaxin, it is to develop an immune response to nucleoplasmid protein of this coronavirus. Okay, so these are some important facts regarding this topic. And now let us talk about next topic. Very few post-vaccine infections, ICMR. So this article mainly talking about after taking vaccine, so how many people have got reinfected with this coronavirus. Again, this topic is important regarding GS paper 2 under health. So now let us try to talk about this topic in a great detail. So if you are talking about context here ICMR, okay, ICMR came up with one data. It mainly said that only small fraction of people who had been vaccinated either with this Covaxin or Covishield, they had tested positive for this COVID-19. But it said that very small fraction of people, they are seeing some reinfection after taking this vaccine. So if you are talking about details, in India we have two vaccine candidates that got emergency use authorization. So first one is Covaxin, second one is Covishield. So if you are talking about Covaxin, about 9.3 million people, they got first dose. So out of this 9.3 million people, about 4,208 people, they got tested positive. And about 1.7 people, they got even second dose. So people who got second dose, so in those proportion of people, only just 695 people, they got tested positive. And if you are talking about Covishield, about 100.3 million people, they got first dose. So out of this people, 7,145 people, they got tested positive, and about 15 million people, they got even second dose, and among this 5,014 people, they are tested positive. So in this way, if you see this data and if you are comparing this data, only small fraction of people, they are reinfected with this COVID-19. So because of this, we can say finally vaccine is definitely protecting against this disease. And now let us talk about what are key reasons behind this reinfection. So we need to talk about two important reasons. So first one is in first phase of this vaccination drive here. So we went for giving vaccination mainly to healthcare workers and as well as from frontline workers. So these people are first among vaccinated with this vaccine candidates. Okay. So in these people, they are more exposed to virus because these people, they will attend many cases. They will be providing some healthcare services and medical services to these people. So because of this, these people are very much vulnerable to exposure of this virus again and again. So because of this, these people are more susceptible to virus. So we can see some types, these people will be reinfected with this COVID-19 again. So this is first important reason. And second important reason here is emergence of healthy transmissible and second wave here. So what happened now? We are seeing second wave of coronavirus. As of today's data here, there are more than 3 lakh new cases. They are reported within 24 hours and more than 2,000 deaths are seen within 24 hours, right? So because of this, now in this second wave, it is more highly transmissible, right? And we can see some new variants. Okay, as of now, just 10 minutes ago, I saw news that there is third variant of this coronavirus is also seen in India. Okay, so we have different variants. different variants, like we have UK variant, we have South African variant, we have even Brazilian variant, double mutant virus in India, and now we are facing this triple mutant virus, and this triple mutant virus is very dangerous to children, it seems. So in tomorrow's lecture, we are going to discuss about that triple variant virus in a very detail. Okay, don't worry about that. So because of these new variants that are coming into existence, so there are several variants they have been shown to avoid detection by our immune system. Okay, so because of these things, there is reinfection that is seen in small group of people who had already taken this Covaxin or Covishield. So this is gist of this topic. And now let us say some facts regarding this ICMR. So this ICMR mainly stands for Indian Council of Medical Research. So it is an apex body in India regarding formulation, coordination, promotion of biomedical research in India. So it mainly deals with formulation, coordination and also promotion of biomedical research. And this ICMR, it is also mandated to conduct, to coordinate and to implement medical research for benefit of society at large. And this ICMR mainly funded by Government of India through Department of Health Research and Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. So these are some important facts regarding this ICMR. And now let us see next article. Title says Indian adds further gender stereotypes to study. So this article mainly talking about gender stereotypes. That means we can see one gender is more dominating over another gender. Okay. So this is according to one study. So this article will be important regarding society, and we can also add this topic under women empowerment. Okay. So we are mainly moving towards women empowerment, but there are some important details that shows that women empowerment it is not seen, and there is even discrimination of women and girls that are seen in India. So this article is important regarding GS paper 2 under society and as well as social issues. Okay, so now let us try to discuss this article in a great detail. So this article mainly talking about this gender stereotypes. So if you are talking about context here, it mainly says that an analysis of Indian advertisements, mainly in television and as well as YouTube, it mainly says that girls and women, they have partly representation mainly in terms of screen time and as well as speaking time. So if you are talking about any number of ads, whether you are seeing in YouTube or even in television, so whatever time it is given for women, which is very much less than compared to that of women, that is screen timing and as well as speaking time here, and their portrayal is problematic. So it is evidence of just some gender stereotypes that is seen even in advertisements. And next one is, it is also more depicted that these women, they are mainly shown as caretakers and as well as parents. Okay, so this is according to data which is given by UNICEF and Gina Davis Institute on Gender in Media. So they came up with a report. That report title says that gender bias and inclusion in advertising in India. So if you are talking about some key findings of this report, it mainly says that, so this study mainly measures over 1,000 television and YouTube advertisement, and they are mainly aired across India in year 2019. And if you are talking about women characters, they dominate the screen time, that is about 59.7%, and speaking time is 56.3%, and they are depicted regarding some for selling cleaning supplies and as well as food and some beauty products. And greater percentage of females, they are characterized, they are depicted as married than male characteristics, and even 3 times more likely to be depicted as parents than male here. So in this way we can see some gender stereotypes that is evident even in our advertisements. And if you're talking about what is significance of this study, so whenever we are seeing this data, we can understand there is misrepresentation and as well as harmful stereotypes that are very much significantly impacting women and as well as girls. Okay, and if you're talking about this misrepresentation, and we can also see how people are valuing women in our society, we can understand that. And next one is, here we can see there is still some marginalization by colonism and as well as hypersexualization that is seen in many careers. Okay, that is seen in especially women life, and women, they do not have any career and as well as aspiration whenever they are coming outside of homes. Okay, so this is significance of this study. And now let us see next article. Title says Sri Lanka detects nuclear material on China-bound vessel. Okay, so this article mainly talking about some nuclear material, okay, that is uranium hexafluoride. So this topic is very much important regarding international relations, and you need to know some facts regarding that uranium material, okay, that will be important regarding science and technology. So now let us try to understand this article in a great detail. So this article mainly focusing on uranium hexafluoride. So if you are talking about context, it mainly says that Sri Lanka detected some radioactive material on China-bound vessel, okay, which is mainly berthed at southern Hambantota port. Okay, so if you are talking about Hambantota port, which is located in Sri Lanka, and now this port which is under control of China in Sri Lanka here. So at this port, Sri Lanka detected some radioactive material that is present in China-bound vessel, and it is berthed at this Hambantota port. And here Sri Lanka officials asked a Chinese bound vessel mainly to leave the port here, okay. So here this shipping company failed to obtain any prior clearance for dangerous cargo here. So according to Sri Lankan law, whenever any vessel which is carrying any radioactive material, that need to obtain some prior permission before berthing in port here. But here Chinese vessel it got, and it came and it berthed at this Hambantota port without taking any prior permission from this Sri Lanka, okay. So because of this, now Sri Lanka asked that vessel to leave that port. So if you are talking about some facts regarding this uranium hexachloride, it is a one of important material. It is a nuclear material. It can be used in nuclear reactors as well, okay. And this new uranium hexachloride, which is commonly transported from one country to another country by using these ports. Okay, so this is the gist of this article. And now let us talk about next article. India at 142nd rank on Press Freedom Index. So this article mainly talking about this Press Freedom Index. So whenever you are seeing any index in paper, so that will be very important for prelims point of view. And the data regarding that index, that can be used whenever you are writing essays and also even in your mains answers, okay. So now let us try to talk about this Press Freedom Index. So if you see context, it mainly says that World's Press Freedom Index 2021 released recently, and this is released by Reporters Without Borders. So you have to remember which report is released by which organization, because you can expect this types of questions directly in your prelims, at least 2 questions every year, okay. So this World's Press Freedom Index 2021 released by Reporters Without Borders, that is a French non-government organization, and in this year India rank is 142 out of 180, okay. So this is the thing, okay. So now let us so this is 142 out of 180 rank. It is seen in 2020. So please refer what is rank of India in 2021 report. So please let me know in comment box. So if you are talking about some important details regarding this report, in 2016 India ranked 133, and in 2020 India ranked 142. I think it is 148 now. Okay, so if you see some details here, this report mainly says that India is one of most dangerous countries for journalists here, and India is mainly trying journalists to not to do their duties, and as well as some job related thing regarding this journalist. So if you are talking about some facts regarding this index, so this index ranks countries and regions according to level of freedom available to journalists in their countries. So because of this, it is not an indicator of quality of journalism, but only this report talks about freedom of journalists they are enjoying in their countries, but it will not talks about an indicator. It is not an indicator regarding quality of journalism in that country. So if you are talking about parameters on which ranking is given, so it is mainly based on pluralism, media and as well as media entertainment or media environment or media indicators, and self-censorship, legal framework, and also some transparency, quality of infrastructure that are available. So based on these parameters, so this ranking will be given by this Reporters Without Borders. Okay, and if you're talking about global scenario, if you're talking about journalism, so it is one of main vaccine against disinformation, and this journalism it is completely or partially blocked in 73% of 180 countries which are taken into account. So if you are talking about this report, it mainly showing one concern regarding larger Asia Pacific region. So in larger Asia Pacific region, there are several nations, they are attempting mainly to curb freedom of press, because they are having some draconian laws, and as well as there are some laws regarding sedition and as well as state secrets and some national security. So on these grounds, several nations, they are attempting to curb this freedom of press. So top country is Norway, and it is mainly followed by Finland and Denmark. And last country is Eritrea, and China's rank is 177. Okay. And now let us talk about next article. Title says towards racial justice. So this topic is very important regarding racial discrimination. So which mainly comes under GS paper 1 and GS paper 2. And this topic is very much important regarding mains point of view. So why this is in news? Because you already know about this George Floyd case, right? So this George Floyd, mainly he belongs to African American man. So he mainly killed by one policeman. Okay, so because of this racial discrimination which comes into picture. So now let us try to understand each and everything regarding this racial discrimination from UPSC point of view. Okay. So if you see this article mainly talking about this racial injustice. Okay. So recently, why this is news? Because US judge found this policeman, that is Minneapolis police officer, guilty of murdering an unarmed African American man, that is George Floyd. So here verdict regarding this case given by the US judge, okay, US court. So US judge mainly said that he found that this police officer who murdered this unarmed African American man as a guilty here. So if you are talking about this murdering of this George Floyd, this incident ignited a national-wide storm of protest against this police brutality, and as well as worldwide it is outpouring of anger against this American racial injustice. Okay, and if you are talking about what is racism first. So racism means we can see there is prejudice, discrimination which is exhibited by larger group of people against some smaller group of people, mainly based on physical appearances, race or ethnicity. So based on physical appearance, that is black versus whites, and as well as based on race and as well as ethnicity, whenever larger group of people, they are showing some prejudice and discrimination against some minority people, so this is called as racism. Okay. So if you are talking about racial discrimination in India, whether we have racial discrimination in India or not. So to understand this, I will give you one example. So according to this World's Value Survey here, so it mainly says that India is second most racist country. Okay, so India is second most racist country here. So in India, people from other countries, they are treated differently by some Indian people, mainly based on skin color and as well as country of origin. So based on this country of origin and as well as skin color, so some people in India, they will treat other people differently. For example, if you are talking about African people, they are especially affected by this racism in India, and they denied accommodation and even attacked and as well as killed in India. So this is about racial discrimination in India. And if you are talking about what are reasons, so there are two important reasons that you should understand. First one is there is racial superiority. That means people mainly believe that some races, they are very much superior than compared to that of other races. And they think that they should not mix with other races, that will lead to pollution, okay, based on purity. So because of this racial superiority, that is leading to this racial discrimination. And next one is why racism it is a problem here. So whenever there is racial discrimination that is shown here, it will mainly hurt individuals, communities and also societies at large. It also hurts people's freedom and as well as dignity, and it will also have some profound effects on public health and as well as welfare. So finally, this racial discrimination that leads to people to withdrawal from work and even study, and it will diminish their quality of life. So in this way, finally, it also affects feelings of sadness, and it will also lead to anger, anxiety and depression. Finally, sometimes it will also lead to committing of suicide. So because of this, racial discrimination is one of important problem. And if you are talking about constitutional provisions in our India, in our Indian constitution, we have some articles like Article 14 and Article 15, which mainly talks about right to equality. Okay, So under this constitutional provisions, we need to address the issues of discrimination and we need to provide some equal protection of laws in India. So if you are talking about especially Article 14, it mainly talks about right to equality before law and as well as equal protection of law. And Article 15 mainly mainly prohibits discrimination on grounds of religion, race, caste, sex and place of birth. Okay. So this is gist of this topic. I hope it is clear. And now let us see next article. So before seeing this article, I want to make a small announcement on this platform. If you want to clear UPSC in 2022, we came up with one excellent, beneficial and also highly economical course, that is current affairs package along with mains answer writing practice. So how this course is useful to clear UPSC 2022? So one thing you need to remember here is before entering into examination hall, you need to know at least 1.5 years current affairs in a comprehensive manner. So and this is right time to join this course to cover this 1.5 years current affairs in a comprehensive manner. Okay. And if you're talking about importance of this current affairs, why you need to focus on current affairs? About 50 to 60% of questions, either it may be prelims or mains and even interview, you can expect questions from this current affairs. And you need not focus on this one-liner current affairs, but you need to understand issues. Okay. And if you're talking about mains answer writing practice, many students who are especially freshers or beginners, they ignore this mains answer writing practice. Finally, if even they clear this prelims, they cannot clear mains without proper answer writing skills. So in this course, we are focusing on how to improve this answer writing skills. And if you join this course, we also conduct prelims test on every Sunday and we also provide you video solutions. So in this way, this course is focusing exactly on demand of UPSC. So for further details, please visit our site and details are given in description box. And if you want to talk to me directly regarding this course, you can talk to me on this number 8074765513. Okay. So now let's come back and let us say next article. Title says a fresh push for green hydrogen. So this article mainly talking about green hydrogen. As you all know that we need to achieve our targets under this Paris climate deal and as well as we need to achieve our nationally determined contributions and we need to move towards net zero, right? So because of all these things, because of there is increase in climate change, so we are increasing this global warming and as well as there is increase in greenhouse gas emissions. So because of all these things, we are experiencing climate change. Mainly to fight against that climate change, we need to move towards renewable energy and we need to leave this dirty non-renewable energy, right? So because of this, we need to move towards renewable energy source. So one of important thing here is green hydrogen. So whenever we are using this green hydrogen as fuel, so it will be whenever we are using this green hydrogen, it will release water into atmosphere. So because of this, it does not cause any harm to environment. Okay. So because of this, we need to focus or we need to increase our green hydrogen. Okay. So this article mainly talking that we need to enhance our commercial scale operations. So mainly we need to, whenever we want to enhance this commercial scale operations, we need to address some challenges. So here this article mainly talked about some solutions that can be done mainly to enhance our commercial scale operations. So this article will be very important regarding environment and ecology, which comes under GS paper 3. So now let us try to talk about this article in a great detail. So this article mainly talking about this green hydrogen. So what is context here? So if you see context, it mainly says that India will join soon 15 other countries in hydrogen club. Okay. So this hydrogen club mainly prepares to launch National Hydrogen Energy Mission. So important target of this National Hydrogen Energy Mission is to produce about 1.45 million tons of this green hydrogen by 2023. So here 15 countries, they are going to come up with this hydrogen club, and this hydrogen club, they are mainly preparing to launch National Hydrogen Energy Mission. So important aim of this National Hydrogen Energy Mission is to produce 1.45 million tons of this green hydrogen. The target year is 2023. And if you see some details regarding this article, it mainly says that currently India consumes 5.5 million tons of hydrogen. Okay. So this hydrogen mainly produced from important fossil fuels. So the target of India here is in 2030, according to Council on Energy, Environment and Water, that is CEEW, it mainly estimated that green hydrogen demand will be increased in India to 1 million tons in India here by 2030. So we are going to use this green hydrogen in number of sectors like ammonia, steel, methanol, transport, so and so. So in all these sectors we are going to use this green hydrogen. So because of this, by 2030 there will be increased demand to this green hydrogen, and we are going to increase our production, that is there will be increased demand up to 1 million tons in India. So in this thing, whenever we want to go for commercial scale of this green hydrogen production, we need to address some challenges. So regarding this, how to address those challenges. So this article gives some key steps that can be followed mainly to address those challenges. So first one is we need to go for decentralized hydrogen production. So we need to go for decentralized hydrogen production. That means here whenever we are going for production of this hydrogen in one place and we are transporting to another places here. So whenever we are going for transportation of this hydrogen, so this is very much costly here. Shipping of this hydrogen is very costly. Okay, rather than going for shipping of this hydrogen, whenever we are going for wheeling or transportation of this solar power solar power or electricity from the solar plant which is located in Kutch, it is very easy. Okay, and it is also decreasing 60% of cost of transportation. So because of this, we need to go for decentralized hydrogen production. Okay, and next one is we need to go for enhanced mechanism that need to ensure access round the clock regarding this renewable energy. So after manufacturing by using this decentralized hydrogen production, we need to ensure there is a proper access, that is access to this hydrogen all round the clock, that is 24 hours. We need to ensure there is supply of this hydrogen. Okay, so in this context we need to increase our size of electrolyzer, and as well as we need to store large amount of hydrogen that is produced through this electrolyzer. Okay, and next and third important step here is we need to take steps to blend green hydrogen with existing processes. So we need to blend this green hydrogen with other gases such that we can increase reliability of this hydrogen supply, especially in this industrial sectors. Finally, it will also improve our economics of fuel. And next one is policymakers, they must facilitate investments mainly in early stages in our research and development here. Finally, we need to improve our technology for large amounts of production of this green hydrogen and for storage and as well as for transportation here. So we need technology. And next important step here is India must learn from experience of National Solar Mission. Okay, and under this National Solar Mission, we need to focus on this domestic manufacturing. So in the same way, regarding this green hydrogen also, we need to focus on this domestic manufacturing here. So finally, author concludes this this article like, so hydrogen may be lighter than air. So if you are talking about our periodic table, so hydrogen mainly see it as a first element. So it is atomic number is 1. So because of this, we can see hydrogen is a very lighter when we are compared to that of air, but it is some heavy lifting to get ecosystem in place. That means whenever we are using this hydrogen as a fuel, so it can release less number, or we can see just it will release water into atmosphere but not any greenhouse gases, such that we can decrease this climate change, and as well as we can decrease the number of carbon emissions, and as well as we can say these greenhouse gases that are released into atmosphere, that will be decreased, and also we can see there will be finally decrease in global warming. So all these things which will mainly contribute for improving of our climate, right? So this is the thing regarding this conclusion of this article. And now let us see next article. Title says data and a new global order. So this article mainly talking about this new global order. So what is this new global order? So here mainly focus, that is moving from Atlantic towards Indo-Pacific region. So why we are shifting from Atlantic towards Indo-Pacific region? So this is about this global order, and this article mainly talking about rise of China here. Okay, so whenever there is shift of this global order from Atlantic to Indo-Pacific here, so India can play a key role in this hyper-connected world. So this is some important background regarding this topic. And now let us try to understand this article in a great detail. So this topic is important regarding international relations, which comes under GS paper 2. and this topic is very much important regarding mains. Okay, and now let's try to discuss this topic in a great detail. So here we have Atlantic, and here we see this region is called as Indo-Pacific. So now this author mainly says that there is shift from Atlantic towards this Indo-Pacific region. So there is shift from this Atlantic towards this Indo-Pacific region. So if you are talking about Atlantic region, here we have European Union, and here have most powerful countries of North America and South America are present. But now there is shift that is moved from this Atlantic towards this Indo-Pacific region, because now here we have India and here we have China. China's power which is very much increasing, and China it is to be second largest economy in the world. So because of all these things here, now here earlier there is a large amount of trade that is to be happen between this America, European Union, so and so. But now what happened, most of this trade that is happening through this Strait of Malacca, and this region got a lot of prominence in recent days. So because of this article mainly says that there is shifting of global order from Atlantic towards this Indo-Pacific now. Okay, so if you talk about this context, it mainly says that there is shift of global power that is from Atlantic region to Indo-Pacific region. So because of this, now it raises some strategic questions for India. Okay, so if you are talking about role of China here, so China which is mainly improving mainly in different sectors like innovation and as well as some data based streams here. For example, it came with increasing its military power, and as well as it is coming with different technologies in robotics, 5G technology, and as well as it is investing more in science and technology here. So even in 14th 5-year plan that is of this, China also focused mainly to increase its expenditure regarding the science and technology here. So because of all these here, these are reasons mainly contributed Chinese rise here, and it is to be a second largest economy here, and it is very much near peer of this United States of America. Okay, and next one is China has about $53 trillion mobile payments market, and it is also having global leader in online transaction, and it is also controlling over 50% of global market value also. So because of this, now we can say it is very much near to US. So it is going to be second largest economy in the world. And if you are talking about India's digital thing or digital payments, that is UPI, Unified Payment Interface volume, it is to be crossed $1 trillion by 2025. So if you are comparing with China and India, US having very much less, that is around 30% of US they are using this digital mechanisms or digital means of payments. So total volume of mobile payments, it is less than $100 billion in USA. So in this context, if you are talking about India's goal, it want to become a $5 trillion economy by 2025, and it is mainly focusing on some fast tracking digital rupee. But whenever we are moving towards digitalization of money, so there is some challenges we are facing, like promoting some engagement with major powers also. So this article mainly talking about some fluid dynamics across the continent. So in this fluid dynamics, if you are talking about India and China relations, we are not having very much good relations now because of Galwan Valley incident, and as well as because of some expansionist policy of China, and as well as we are seeing there is a military standoff across LAC region. So because of this, now we do not have that much good relationship with China here. But if you see here, China remains one of largest trading partner with US and as well as India, even though US imposed sanctions on China, and even though there are some border issues with India here, China remains one of largest trading partner with USA and as well as India here. So if you are talking about India and China, they are both uncomfortable with some treating Western values as universal values here. So recently one incident happened in India, that is interpretation of freedom of navigation rules in other territorial waters here. So recently US Navy came up with one announcement that it had patrolling within this exclusive economic zone of India without prior permission of India here. So if you are talking about according to UNCLOS here, so within baseline whatever water is present, that will comes under internal waters, and from baseline till 12 nautical miles it comes under mainly territorial waters, and from territorial waters till 12 nautical miles it comes under contiguous water, and from baseline till 200 nautical miles it comes under this exclusive economic zone. So without prior permission of India within 130 nautical miles, here what happened here, here US came up with one exercise here. Okay, so because of this, it is one of cause of concern for India here, because India mainly signed this UNCLOS, but if you are talking about USA, it does not sign this UNCLOS here. So because of this, there are some varied interpretation regarding this freedom of navigation rules of India and US here. So if you are talking about finally, so this article mainly says that India alone mainly straddles with both US and as well as China, because it is mainly leading some strategic groupings with USA and as well as China here. So if you are talking about USA, we have number of military exercises, number of naval exercises, and if you are talking about US, we have groupings called as Quad, and if you are talking about China, we have Shanghai Cooperation Organization, and we have different organization, RIC is present, BRICS is present, right? So in all these things, China it is member here. So because of this, India alone straddles both USA and as well as China-led strategic groupings here. Finally, India need to provide an equity-based perspective of completing or competing visions regarding this Indo-Pacific region. And finally, authors said that need here is we need to play a key role in molding things for hyper-connected world here. So as we know here now, any country which is connected with any other country, right? So if you see US is present here and it is connected to India here, China here, and as well as Australia which is present here, and even Japan here. So in this hyper connected world here, so India can mold rules of this, okay, of this multipolar world or hyper connected world regarding this US and China here. So in this context, whenever there is shifting of this global power from Atlantic to Indo-Pacific region, so as a member of this Indo-Pacific region, India can play an important role here. So this is gist of this topic. I hope it is clear. And now let us see mains question. How India can address several challenges to enhance commercial scale operations of green hydrogen discuss. So this topic we discussed very great detail, and article regarding this topic which appeared in page number 7. So try to read this article at least twice and try to write answer within word limit of 150 words. So by this we are concluding today. I hope you enjoyed this lecture. Please subscribe to my channel and don't forget to like, share and comment my videos. And don't forget to enroll this current affairs package. Thank you so much.